In your own experience, because you have been certainly a journalist and an observer of the relationship between government and its citizenry for a longer period of time than I have. I took a detour away from paying attention to these issues. I was in the world of business for a while. I've kind of come back to it now. What is your estimation of the scale of abuse, right? Civil libertarian abuse through non-transparency going along with that in the immediate post 9/11 aftermath, sort of in the Bush years, versus like where we are today? Forget the partisan nature of which way it leans, but more just the magnitude or the magnitude of concern about the lawlessness or the fundamental absence of commitment to being constrained by the rule of law. Like, how would you rate that in the 2000s versus your estimation of where we are today? I'm curious.
I mean, there's only limited evidence to go on, and I think it's a great question. But my sense is that it's epidemic now, and that it wasn't maybe even 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Okay.
But we've had stories come out in the Trump era that have suggested all kinds of problems. I think you can see with like the unmasking requests with FISA,
Yeah.
right? That's sort of domestic political surveillance, abuse of that system. We'd already seen that there were massive violations of FISA, going back to Inspector General reports, even dating back to the Bush era. But now it seems like that system's completely out of control. The Twitter files showed that the FBI is engaging in wholesale meddling in the domestic speech environment. They're representing to the public that they're worried about foreign interference, but they're watching like domestic Twitter accounts that have 8 followers. And that was part of the shock that we all felt when we were looking through those emails. Like, why are they doing this? So I think there's all kinds of problems. And this thing that happened today is just, it's another example of, wow, they're really getting involved in domestic politics in a way that I don't remember happening in my lifetime.
So it's funny you bring up the domestic interference, right, in our own body politic. Think about the TikTok debate, right? The debate about whether to ban TikTok. And first they'll say it's not a ban or whatever it is. But anyway, the premise was we don't want foreign governmental interference in our own domestic politics or our own domestic polity, what tilts the scales of what people can or can't see. And yet, if you go back to that era, and this goes back to one of your, obviously hallmark contributions in the last several years, which is the Twitter files. But if you look back at what happened there, was there a government-coordinated cover-up job on a question such as the origin of COVID-19 from China? Yes. Was China protected from public understanding of where COVID-19 likely originated? Yes. Was it the public protected or restricted from seeing that information by a government actor using these tech companies as a backdoor to effectuate it? Yes. But it wasn't really the CCP and TikTok. It was actually, in that particular case, the US government effectively pressuring US-based companies through the back door to not only censor all kinds of information, but in this particular instance, one that actually had the effect of protecting the CCP from its own accountability, which I just thought was a reversal of what our own expectations are, where I guess the way I would say it, Matt, is we tend to be far more alert as a people to some sort of foreign government messing around with us. And I say this as a citizen who doesn't want some foreign government meddling in what I can or cannot do on my own soil of my homeland. But we somehow give our own government the same pass that we otherwise aren't willing to give foreign governments, when in fact, when you think about the threats to our own civil liberties or access to information, the greater threats, I think undoubtedly, are emerging from our own managerial state rather than some other foreign government, which, small though that threat may be by comparison, it's the one that we disproportionately pay attention to.